Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the meeting of the Lebanon Utility Service Board for Wednesday, September 17th, 2025. Let the record show that this meeting was properly advertised and there was a working session prior. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty.
All right, we'd like to offer public comment now and at the end of each of our meetings, so we'll go ahead and do that. Don't see anyone here with public comment, so again, we'll ask at the end. First item tonight is the approval of our minutes from the September 3rd meeting. Everyone had a chance to review those minutes, and if so, I'd entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion made by Tim, seconded by Aaron to approve the minutes from the September 3rd, 2025 meeting. Any additional questions? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, next item is the 2025 on-call water and wastewater construction inspection supplemental agreement 1. And Ryan Ottinger is here tonight for that. Hey, Ryan.
Good evening. Thank you. So this request is for a supplemental agreement on our on-call water wastewater inspection from Butler, Fairman, Seifert. While all of our projects have inspection built into the cost of the project, there are some projects out there that do not have inspection oversight on that project. And if we find that and our staff is not available, we take advantage of this to call out a BF&S inspector to be able to be on site. They know the construction standards and to be able to enforce those standards as inspection is going on. This is an on-call hourly rate. We originally budgeted for this amount was $50,000. It did get us through, the end of August. We still have a little bit in there, but what I wanted to do was bring this to the board before we got to the end of that amount of money, so nothing gets held up. Not that BF&S wouldn't answer our call despite that, but to make sure that we have budgeted for that. I don't foresee us using this entire amount, especially if 50,000 got us through the majority of the summer construction and spring construction. However, what I didn't want to do is do 10,000 and it gets to that point and then come back to the board for another agreement and have to do that multiple times. This is a situation where if we don't use it, if we don't call them out, we do not spend that. It is on an hourly on-call basis. So if we only use 10,000 of that, the rest of that amount does not go to BF&S. It is only on an as-needed basis. So I'd be happy to answer any questions on this.
Civil district only?
This is for civil district only, yes.
I wonder why it is that the budget number was potentially a little under. Were there extra on-call hours this year, or was it just, I saw in your write-up that it was a conservative, but you kind of want the budget to be close. So I guess I wonder what we could have done to budget better.
Yeah, so we went off the number from the year before, and I guess I wasn't taking into account that we were under a sort of a moratorium with the water allocation, and so and then we've had a couple of construction sites that have had multiple issues, unforeseen, not from Lebanon Utilities, but not following standards, having issues with getting that rectified, and took multiple more call outs than a normal inspection would. If an inspection goes well, it's a few hours and we're done. If it goes wrong, then they have to go back, and then that goes wrong and they have to go back. So there were a couple of different circumstances. Yeah, and I agree. I would like if I ever have to do this, it to be a late November scenario to where we basically made it through, or we have enough in to carry us through the year so our budget reflects correctly. And that's something that I will address, having these numbers, knowing that the next few years is going to be equally as or more busy. But I do want to say that we do have a lot of civil projects coming up, and in those projects, in those budgets, we do have construction inspection already in that budget. This is just for unforeseen scenarios, we were short on this one. That's kind of how we got to where we are.
And I understand those things unforeseen things are by definition unforeseen. So I understand. I wanted to ask the question.
Yeah, and honestly, I like I said, we're basically halfway through September, so if you do month by month, I don't see us hitting this number. But what I wanted to do is make sure that we did have enough, barring something going haywire in some of the projects that are not ours, that we do have the availability and the comfort level to have an inspector out there to ensure, because it's much cheaper to pay an inspector than it is to go in and dig something up or have something that needs to be redone that's stopping a project from moving forward, specifically like a school or something like that that's trying to open at a very specific time. We don't want to hold that up.
I would like,
Do you have money to cover this?
Yes. We have money in our inspection budget. We just didn't, in the on-call, we only did 50,000, but there is enough in the overall budget for inspections and program services our engineering services to cover this. Yes.
I know that we can point to many, many, many instances of where BF&S has done an excellent job of construction inspection. But in this past year, we've had a situation where their BF&S inspector let us down, that I personally, I guess you would say, are going to be watching carefully, because that was a big surprise and shock to me. And I hope the staff will do likewise and maybe just, I don't know, double checking things. I don't know. I'm not expressing myself very well, but and I'm not necessarily asking you to comment.
That's fair. Although I think John Leitner from BF&S would like to.
No, Aaron, I think that's a fair criticism. We did have a error on who we had on site for Reese Park. We've made a correction on who we'll have out there as far as knowledge of water, wastewater systems. And then moving forward, checking, making sure things are done according to plan. Do want to note that on Reese Park, we did have an overrun on construction inspection that we are not asking for a supplemental agreement for or anything like that, knowing that we did make an error and didn't help in that case as well as we should have. So point well taken, and I appreciate that.
We've had great experience many, many times in the past. So, and thank you for those comments.
Yep.
Yeah, I'd like to add that Tim Hudson and myself met with the contractor and did thoroughly looked at this issue, and it's a complex issue, and we're satisfied with the corrective measures. And if Tim has anything to add, I'm sure he will. So thanks.
No, I just think it's going to be an appropriate point for us to speak with probably in a couple of weeks as we learn more, because we had two major issues that came from that one, and we've talked with Kokosing about it, but we'll bring that to the board and some of the detail of that. But we need a little bit more detail on some of the countermeasures. One of them is pretty strong. The other one is still in development.
All right. Good stuff. Appreciate the comments. Anything else for Ryan on this on-call? I would entertain a motion.
I move to approve the 2025 on-call water and wastewater construction inspections, but supplemental agreement number 1 with BF&S, increasing the not to exceed amount by $50,000, increasing the overall not to exceed amount to $100,000.
Second.
Motion made by Ann, seconded by Bill to approve the 2025 on-call water and wastewater construction inspection supplemental agreement number one from 50,000 to an amount not to exceed $100,000. Any additional comments? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you, Ryan.
Thanks, everyone.
All right, we've got a couple of resolutions back to back here. First one is resolution number 2025-13, and this is resolution approving the public-private agreement for civil water distribution system improvements program and the GMP report number 1. And our legal counsel, Jeff Jacob, will address this for us.
Thank you, Board. This is a public-private agreement or BOT agreement for the civil water district. And it is for generically the improvement of water main along State Road 39. I'm sure that you're familiar with the project, but John Leitner and Ryan Ottinger can certainly get into the technical elements of that if needed. And if you recall, the scoring committee has recommended that we negotiate this agreement with Bowen Engineering. This agreement follows a very similar pattern of agreements that we have done in recent vintage for the LEAP district, and that agreement follows that same pattern. So unless there's any questions, I'll read the resolution. Resolution 2025-13, whereas the City of Lebanon, Indiana owns and operates by and through the Lebanon Utility Service Board, a municipally owned utility known as Lebanon Utilities, for the purpose of providing safe, reliable, and efficient water service in and around the city. Whereas the board finds it in the best interest of the ratepayers utility and the City of Lebanon to expand, improve, and maintain the infrastructure of the water system. Whereas the board authorized the issuance of a request for proposals for the construction of the operation of the civil water distribution and system improvements, which includes upgrades to the Lebanon utility water system, including replacement of the water main along State Road 39 pursuant to Indiana law, including Indiana Code 5233. Whereas on about June 4th, 2025, the board conducted a public hearing related to the RFP, the project, and the scoring committee recommendation to select Bowen Engineering for construction of the project. Whereas after a thorough review of the various submitted proposals and the recommendations by the scoring committee and input from staff, the board approved the response to the RFP by Bowen. Whereas the board recommended the negotiation of a public-private agreement for the construction of the civil water distribution system improvements program with Bowen. Whereas the board has received and reviewed the public-private agreement for the construction of the civil water distribution system improvements program dated September 17, 2025, with Bowen for the design and construction of the project attached as Exhibit A. Whereas the board has received and reviewed Bowen's Civil Water Distribution System Improvement Program GMP Report Number 1, State Road 39 Water Main Replacement, which is Exhibit B, and staff's recommendation to approve the same. Now therefore be it resolved by the Utility Service Board that number 1, the public-private agreement for the construction of the Civil Water Distribution System Improvement Program approved and adopted by the board to become effective upon its execution by the utility's general manager. And 2, that GMP report number 1 is approved and adopted by the board to become effective upon its execution by the general manager.
I have a question for Ryan. Ryan, the GMP report number 1 is for an amount of $848,000, and our budget for this project for this year was $700,000. Can you explain the increase?
Some of it's an increase in pricing, but we also added a little bit of scope to this. If you'll recall, this line, we are actually extending to the dialysis center and adding a valve placement in there in order to make sure that if there's any issues on either side of that line, that the kidney dialysis center can have a water feed if we need to valve one side or the other off. Right now, we only have a valve on one side of their water line. So this will give them some, if we do have a main break on the north side of that we can feed water from the other side and or valve off to give them the correct pressure in that. So there's a little bit of that. And then I think a lot of, and John can speak on this also, but some of it was where we are placing it, there were some unknowns of underground stuff that we have to navigate around. So it's going to be a little bit more intensive than what we had anticipated, but we didn't know that until we were able to get out on site and do a pretty in-depth analysis. And that was prior to budget season.
I'm just sort of curious, did Bowen collaborating with us help fine tune the scope or?
So that budget amount was before we had even had a scoring committee.
I'm talking about, the 848, the final scope that you arrived at. I'm just curious how the process worked. Did Bowen have some input into that helped, or?
They did. They actually came out on site and did an evaluation of where we could put that line, knowing that we wanted it out of the state road and we wanted it to make sure that we included the dialysis center. They came out on site, looked at the area to where it would be the best place to put it, but also ensure that the connections we had on the other side of State Road 39 would still be viable, and we wouldn't have to do anything with additional consideration for them. So they did come out and take a look and evaluate that site ahead of time.
Yeah, I asked this question because I see one of the benefits of this type of approach is the collaboration between the various engineering folks, and it looks like that at least partially occurred here, and that's good. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, very much so.
Right. Any other questions for Ryan on this resolution? If not, I would entertain a motion.
I move to approve Resolution 2025-13, approving public-private agreement for Civil Water Distribution Systems Improvements Program and GMP Report Number 1 with Boeing Engineering Corporation, and authorize General Manager to execute the public-private agreement and GMP Report Number 1.
Second.
Motion made by Bill and seconded by Tim to approve resolution number 2025-13. This is the resolution approving public-private agreement for Civil Water Distribution System Improvements Program and the GMP Report Number 1 as read by our legal counsel. Any other comments? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we'll jump to the next resolution, which is number 2025-14, and this is the resolution approving GMP Report Number 2 for the public-private agreement for LEAP collection system improvements.
Board, this is a continuation of the collection system improvements for the LEAP district. As you recall, you entered into or authorized the entering into of a public-private agreement with Reynolds. And this is the continuation of that project through GMP Report Number 2. I'd be happy to answer any questions. Note that Mr. Ottinger and Mr. Leitner are here also that could answer any detailed technical questions. If there are none, I will read the resolution. Whereas the city of Lebanon, Indiana owns and operates by and through the Lebanon Utility Service Board, a municipally owned utility known as Lebanon Utilities, for the purpose of providing safe, reliable, and efficient wastewater service in and around the city. Whereas the board finds it in the best interest of the ratepayers, the utility, and the city of Lebanon to expand, improve, and maintain the infrastructure of the wastewater system. Whereas the board authorized the issuance of requests for proposals for the construction and operation of large diameter gravity sewers, a regional lift station, and force mains to convey flows from the LEAP district to the existing Lebanon Utilities system pursuant to Indiana Code 5233. Whereas the project is to be completed on and before January 1, 2026. On about June 4th, 2025, the board conducted a public hearing related to the RFP, the project, and the scoring committee recommendation to select Reynolds Construction for the construction of the project. And whereas the board has received and reviewed Reynolds Public-Private Agreement LEAP Collection System Improvements GMP Report Number 2, which is attached to this resolution as Exhibit A, and staff's recommendation to approve the same. Now therefore be resolved by the Lebanon Utility Service Board that the LEAP Collection System PPA GMP Report Number 2 is approved and adopted by the board to become effective upon its execution by the utility general manager.
All right, thank you, Jeff. Any questions for Jeff or Ryan or
See,
anyone else?
I made note there that the guaranteed maximum price total is $34,245,000. Again, I'm still a little in awe of all these big numbers. Our civil ratepayers won't be paying any of that amount the way we have things set up. I looked through some of the documents and made special note that the useful life is certified to be 75 years for the piping, 75 years for the force main, and 25 years for the pump station. So hopefully I guess you would say the state will get what they're paying for. Thank you.
All right, any other questions, comments? I would entertain a motion.
I move to approve resolution approving GMP report number 2 for the public-private agreement for LEAP collection system improvements with Reynolds Construction LLC and authorize the general manager to execute the GMP report.
Second.
Motion made by Tim and seconded by Bill to approve resolution number 2025-14, the resolution approving GMP report number 2 for the public-private agreement for LEAP collection system improvements. Any additional comments, questions? By saying aye.
Aye.
All right.
Any opposed? All right, thank you, Mr. Jacob. We will move to the approval of our claims, payrolls, and transfers dated September 17th, 2025. Everyone had a chance to review those, and if so, I'd entertain a motion.
I move to approve the claims payroll transfers dated September 17, 2025 in the amount of $3,613,465.90 for claims and payroll and $0 for transfers.
Second.
Motion made by Bill, seconded by Ann to approve the claims, payrolls, and transfers dated September 17th, 2025. Any additional comments? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, any other business from the board tonight? Ed? Okay, and we'll offer public comment again. Don't see anyone here for public comment, so we are scheduled October 8th for our next meeting at 5 p.m., and if there's nothing else, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
I would like to make one suggestion on our calendaring that we may meet next month, October 1st and October 15th. We're currently scheduled on October 8th and the 22nd. The 22nd does happen to be fall break week for the school system.
Yes, noted that we may flex those dates. There are 5 Wednesdays in October, so we'll find a couple in there. Any other comments? All right, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
Second.
Motion by Ann, seconded by Tim to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you, everyone. We stand adjourned.